Welcome to the Clubhouse preview. Sportsbet.io. I sound a bit surprised if we actually started there, but here we are. We're going to look at these games this weekend. It's a Premier League match week 27, hurtling towards this title race, which we are now in, and some sort of relegation battle depending on points deductions and how many you get back. Let's have a word with, once again, it's Paul Robinson in the studio. Hello, Paul.
Good morning, sir.
And it's Neil Mellor over that way on to Wirral, having enjoyed Liverpool's kindergarten Klopp, that's been the week. Hoping for some Liverpool victory this weekend. Neil, we'll get onto those games soon. I saw you've had a trophy in your hands this week, Neil.
Did do, yeah. Very welcome guest into the LFC TV studios. The Carabao Cup. It was on show and very enjoyable. It was a great day out, I have to say that, on Sunday to watch Liverpool, against all the circumstances, overcome Chelsea and lift the trophy. I was there with my little lad. Chris Kirkland was my chauffeur. Not a great driver, but it was a great day out. And then to have the trophy as well. And it's been all around the football club. And it's been one of maybe a couple more to join it at the end of the season.
Didn't get to sample any of that Carabao beer, did you? It's been advertised. That sounds...
Carabao beer? Is there such a thing?
There is such a thing.
I thought it was a sports drink. I thought it was a sports energy drink.
It's a sports energy drink, and now it's a beer. I mean, I don't want to advertise this, but the whole concept just seems a little bit, slightly disgusting to me. I'm not sure how that,
Well, you think about the sports drink and the way that tastes, and you think a beer. I mean, it's got to be just a beer, surely, hasn't it? Is it a lager or
might be
a
isotonic,
pale ale?
Sure. It's a pale ale.
Well, to be fair, after 3 or 4 pints of beer, it probably has the same effect as one can of Carabao anyway.
we could all consider that. Exactly.
You weigh up your options.
Yeah, well,
one can of the Powerade or 3 pints of the beer.
Gets to your thirst fast, as Johnny Barnes used to say. So let's have a look at the first TV game is actually the 5:30 game we're going to look at first. In fact, no, let's not do that. Let's have a bit of a chat, shall we? Not just about Chelsea and Liverpool, but let's start with Chelsea, Paul. They've been labelled... Okay, I'm going to press this button and say talking point. Let's do that before we start talking Chelsea. I think the label £billion bottle jobs is not fair at all on Chelsea's players. Is there anything in it, Paul Robinson?
No, I think it's harsh. I think it was probably a clumsy choice of words, but you can understand the choice of words when you see the way Chelsea played in the second half of extra time. I think the changes the manager made, the in-game management from Pochettino, it wasn't great. And I think you look at the Liverpool team, with no disrespect to anybody, because they're proven that they can play at the top level. That was an opportunity for Chelsea to win a cup final. And the negative way that they played in extra time, playing for penalties. And I think that's probably why Gary Neville used the words that he did, because they didn't take the game to Liverpool. They didn't try and win the game. The negative changes, the in-game management from the manager, and the way that the team performed when they've got an opportunity in such a turbulent, indifferent season for Chelsea. They've got an opportunity against the Liverpool side, who we know how good Liverpool are, and we know when they've got a fully fit squad and a fully fit 11, Chelsea wouldn't get anywhere near them. But an opportunity that Chelsea had, they just let it pass them by.
Neil, if you consider the Chelsea side, I think as a squad they lack depth. Probably they have got depth. They've got players, but they don't have that. There's no John Terrys anymore. There's none of these players. In fact, there's only one player in that side that played against Liverpool on Sunday that played in the previous League Cup final only 2 years ago. The turnaround's been incredible, and the only elder statesman is Thiago Silva, and he wasn't on the pitch.
Who was that Chelsea player? Joe Wells?
Paul?
What's that?
The one Chelsea player who was in the League Cup final 2022 that played Liverpool in the 0-0.
Sterling.
I'm going Chilwell.
Sterling?
No.
Conor Gallagher?
No.
Oh, he was at Palace, wasn't he?
Chalobah. And that's the turnover in this Chelsea squad that just doesn't have the... It's got players. They've got young players on the bench. They've got young players who have got a lot of experience and big price tags, but they don't have the leaders.
No. And just to go back to that Gary Neville bottle job shouts, he's a Man United fan. He's wanting Chelsea to win. So I think he was influenced by maybe being frustrated and disappointed Chelsea weren't really going at Liverpool when Liverpool were vulnerable with so many key players out. So I thought that was apparent in his commentary. Chelsea had chances. And the big thing for me is they just weren't clinical. They weren't ruthless. Liverpool had a goalkeeper in Keller who had a great game. I think Liverpool did well to stop the counter-attack. Chelsea's tactics in extra time was they were tired themselves to play on the counter-attack. And I thought Liverpool stopped that really well. A few occasions, took a few yellow cards. Otherwise, it's 4v2. And Chelsea may well go on and get the winning goal on one of those counter-attacks. Maybe people were expecting really go at Liverpool, but that wasn't their style. The counter-attack was their tactic, and it nearly came off, but for some really good defending from Liverpool. So, and justice as well. What about VAR in a cup final? When are we going to get it right? Either bin it or get them to use it properly, because that is I just can't get my head round how VAR can look at it 20 times, how the referee can look at it 20 times, and they come to the outcome to disallow that Virgil van Dijk goal. They will disallow a goal from every corner, every set piece, every single game in every weekend. It's just not right for football. I was in the stadium. I was looking at the big screen. I don't know what's going on. They're telling me there's an offside. I don't know what's going on. I've seen the replay since, and I can't get my head around it. So justice was served when Virgil scored that goal. To say about Chelsea, the squad is deep. It's just lacking that clinical edge in the final third.
My point about VAR was that the tackle on Gravenberch, which if he sees it and sends him off and it's a red, it goes to VAR, it might get downgraded to a yellow. The referee says he's seen it, played on, should still be a yellow, and VAR can't just look at it. So there's so many blind spots in this. It's like it's a bad tackle, it's a missed time tackle. I don't think it's a red card. I think it's a yellow card. Why can't he give me a yellow card when you have a look at it?
You'd best ask Mel's. I didn't watch the game.
Fair enough.
I didn't see the tackle. Well, the one thing I did see is the VAR, and I'm going to show you something here. Casemiro's goal against Nottingham Forest last night in VAR, and the Virgil van Dijk against Chelsea goal. I mean, you can't see that on there.
You can't see
but
it.
look at that.
I've seen it.
Absolutely
the same.
Identical. Exactly the same.
Look who sent it. It's on Gibbs White's story, Instagram story. So he's a Forest player who's frustrated. But the outcome for that United one is what I believe should be right. It's not a foul. You can't be giving fouls for that. You know, are you interfering? Everyone blocks each other. Defenders get away with it all the time. So the big injustice was the disallowed goal cup final, not that one.
In that mini Mellor rant, I will say you did mention Caoimhin Kelleher there, and I want to get goalkeeper's perspective on that. And luckily, there's one in the studio. Kelleher now he's a huge part of Liverpool. Alisson gets a lot of injuries.
I told you it wouldn't be a problem. We talked about it last week. I said he'd have played anyway. If Alisson was fit, he'd have played anyway. That's the trust that Klopp's got in him.
But does he now look, as we said in plenty of transfer windows before, he's 25 now.
Yeah.
Probably has to look to leave, probably.
Does he?
Or does he stick around? I mean, what's in your mind there? We've spoken about other number twos or goalkeepers that have become number twos this season.
Jurgen Klopp's thoughts on him. You look at the way that he uses him. You look at the European competition that Liverpool have competed in this year. He's not afraid to give him game time. Most, if not every, top team carries two very good goalkeepers. Yeah, there's normally a clear number one, but he's pushing himself as he's not as good as Alisson, and he's not going to have that much of an impact as Alisson. But the manager trusts him enough to give him game time. You look at the amount of games he's played this season. I don't know off the top of my head, but if he's happy playing 15, 20 games a season in cup competitions and some Premier League games, then he will play more than other goalkeepers in a team that are going to compete for the Premier League, the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, and the Champions League next season. You look at those 4 tournaments that he's going to compete in, the manager is going to give him game time because he trusts him. He'll play him in some Champions League games early on at Anfield, depending on the opposition. He'll play him in the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, guaranteed. It depends on his own personal ambition and where he wants to be. If you want to be a part of a squad that's competing for 4 trophies, but you're not the actual number one, but you are going to play 20 games a season, it's a decision on his own personal ambition and where he wants to be. If he wants to go and further his career and be a number one at a mid-table Premier League club, which he's more than capable of doing, then that's up to him and his own personal desire as to what he wants to do. But as far as Liverpool go, they'll want to keep him. They want to carry 2 first-class goalkeepers, in which they've got.
Yeah, because if he's not there, they need a player a bit like him. In which case, just keep him.
Yeah, and almost like the perfect replacement for when Alisson does go. You know, I don't know how much longer Alisson's got at Liverpool. Hope a few more years, but he seems the ideal replacement just to step into his shoes. You've got to remember the homegrown rule as well. That's a big factor for a lot of Premier League clubs that struggle with the quotas. Kelleher is one of those. You have to be over 21 to be classed as a homegrown player. Liverpool have a lot of young players, as we've seen, 18, 19, 20. But until you get over 21, you're not classed as a homegrown player. So Liverpool are a little bit light in that department, and Kelleher is important to fulfil that. So I see no reason why, unless Quavine was desperate to go and play first team football somewhere, he might not just wait for maybe another season or two behind Alisson to then be number one for Liverpool.
Interesting that this weekend's opponents, Nottingham Forest, bid for Kelleher in January, 15 million, swiped away by the Liverpool board, and probably is worth more than 15
He's worth more than 50 million. He's worth a lot more than 15 million. And does he want to go and play in a relegation battle where the likelihood is this season he could end up in the Championship? I mean, we spoke about Forest and Everton with the points deduction looming. I mean, the precedent's been set. It's not 10 points, it's 6 points. Forest have admitted it. Everton have admitted it. They're going to get hit with 6 again, aren't they? Both of them. So why would he want to go there, fight relegation, potentially get relegated?
And there you go. That's Liverpool and Chelsea dealt with on that talking point. Let's move on to this weekend's football. It is the Premier League preview for this weekend, a weekend of Manchester derby, which we'll get on to. But we'll start with Neil and Paul talking about, Luton Aston Villa is the first TV game. It's the 5:30 on Saturday. Quick look at this one. Luton 4.2, the draw's 4.2, Villa 1.75. Neil, Luton have had a bit of a battering these last few weeks, haven't they? They've played well, they've put themselves up there and out there, but it's if at the end of the run is Manchester City and Erling Haaland, that's no run at all, is it? Eventually you're going to get steamrolled than they were in the cup. Yeah,
they got hurt. They got hurt badly, didn't they? Obviously, 6 goals against City. The game before that was Liverpool at Anfield. Got beat 4 in that one. They were competitive. I mean, Luton have been competitive all season. I felt as though the news of Everton getting the extra points, the 4 points back, was a bit of a blow as well. A bit deflated, thinking, all of a sudden it's a 4-point gap now for Luton to try and get themselves out of trouble. I think the holding on to the hope that Forest will get hit. When they get hit, I don't know, but that will give them a boost. But I'm looking at this game and thinking it's an away win, isn't it? Villa are back in form, won the last 2 games away, beat Forest comfortably last weekend 4-2. They didn't have a cup game as well, so Villa will be fresh. Luton had that tough game against City. I mean, that's quite good odds for Villa, really, if I'm looking at that. They really are trying to cement that top 4 place now, Champions League football next season, whereas Luton looking to stay up. A draw best case for Luton, but I think I'm on a Villa away for this one.
Yeah, I get the feeling with Villa, Paul, that they might have had their a blip, and they'll look to. This is the point where their season properly starts. If things are going to go right for them this season, European football, another big tie. It's Ajax in midweek, isn't it?
Ajax, right? Yeah, they've got Ajax. It's Brighton have got Roma, isn't it?
Yeah,
Brighton, Roma.
So you start
that's a
with
proper
this.
throwback, isn't it? Villa Ajax.
Oof.
That's a throwback back to the 80s. What a European tie that is.
Yeah, and great to have it, and that kind of tie. And Unai Emery will think, okay, we've got to keep the European football going because that's a great opportunity for a trophy again. But where they are at the start of the weekend, 5 points clear of 5th, and 5th could be Champions League. So what a position to be in for the last 10, 12 games of the season.
Yeah, it's in their own hands, isn't it? I mean, Manchester United, they looked like they were coming knocking on the door, but recent games they've looked poor again. They're 8 points clear of Man United, Villa, which is, that's a huge opportunity for them. And as you rightfully say, 5th is going to be good enough this year. We say potentially, maybe, but I think all the categories, the boxes that are going to be ticked by English teams this year, we are going to get down to 5th in the Champions League. So for Tottenham and Villa, it's a huge incentive for them to get there. And Villa at the moment, they're in the driving seat. I mean, you look at where they are, goal scoring. I mean, they've scored 56 goals this year, averaging over 2 a game, Villa, which hasn't been a problem for them. But what you said there, they had their blip. They're now coming back out the other side of it. They've had their indifferent form and sitting in 4th. They really are. They're in the driving seat. And going to Luton, I mean, I was at Luton Tuesday night. I was working at the game, and they really did get destroyed by Manchester City. Listen, anybody can get destroyed by Manchester City, whether in that vein of form. They fancied it, and they mixed it up. They played direct. Haaland took the battle with Mengi personally, and Luton got hurt. There were some players missing. Adebayo, they were missing him, missing a couple of other key players, and they looked a class apart from Manchester City. And it'll be interesting to see. Rob Edwards will have gone in there after the game. He'll have gone, look, that's done. Yep. FA Cup was never our priority. Put that to bed. But actually getting 6 goals put past them at home on the back of a 4-1 against Liverpool, on the back of a 2-1 defeat against Man United, Luton are just hitting the buffers at the wrong time and conceding far too many goals.
Yeah, Neil, we've spoken about a couple of weekends have been big for Luton, and if Luton can win this, which is a big if, then they might be able to claw back on Forest, depending on what's happened at Forest Liverpool earlier in the day. They might be able to claw back on a few teams to get back into that position out of the relegation places. But for Villa as well, as we've said, their next few games, they've got Luton, Ajax, Tottenham, Ajax, West Ham. That's a big 4 games for them.
Yeah, I think the thing for Villa is they've got a little bit of a gap between themselves and Spurs. Spurs have a game in hand, and they just don't want to be looking over the shoulder thinking, are we going to get a little bit nervous for this 4th, 5th spot for Champions League? It probably will be, but they really want to make sure it's them 4th. So these sort of games, you're thinking they can't be dropping points. As much as we say Luton have been competitive at home this season, they've lost 8 of the 13 home games. So they have been losing games. And that's why I think Villa, if they've got these top 4 hopes, they've got to be going there and getting the 3 points. 1.75 is good odds. Maybe get a goal scorer in there. What about John McGinn? He got a goal against Luton earlier on in the season. I've got him down as 0 in his last 4, 1 in 10. But I think he could be a player if selected, of course.
Villa to win, and where is he? John McGinn to score is 5. Not too bad. Makes those odds a lot tastier from 1.75. And again, looking at Villa will look at other games this weekend. They're already 8 points ahead of United, and they probably wouldn't expect United to get much out of the Manchester derby.
I haven't seen Manchester City play on Tuesday night. If Manchester City play like that on Sunday, is it Sunday 3:30 against Man United? City play like that, they could put 6 past them as well.
As they have done before. We'll get on to that game. That's Luton against Aston Villa, though. Your 5:30 kickoff in the Premier League on Saturday. Sunday's football in the Premier League, and it is, should we call it contractual obligation Sunday? It's not super. Well, it's more super later. But Burnley against Bournemouth.
Is that on the telly?
It's on the telly.
Is that on the telly? Wow.
What else are you doing Sunday lunchtime other than not watching
that?
But Burnley against Bournemouth. 3.8. Bournemouth 1.96. These sides just don't want to win. Burnley 2 wins from 19. Bournemouth's pretty similar because we mentioned last week that their form was going down.
There's one sure bet this weekend. If you want to make money this weekend, bet on that game being last on Match of the Day. Well,
it might not even get on Match of the Day too. We'll see. They'll just show the goals, maybe. Neil, will there be any goal? Is it worth watching this or early Sunday dinner?
No, not at all. Got something better on telly than this.
There's a Colombo on, I think.
Yeah, I fancy Bournemouth away. But Burnley gone 9 points from safety. Well beaten last week at Palace. Sending off didn't help them. They didn't have a cup game. Bournemouth did, albeit made a lot of changes. I thought Bournemouth had a good go against City. A bit unfortunate maybe to have been beaten in the end, but had a good go. They're on a bit of a run where they're not picking up wins, but maybe playing better than that run suggests. So I'm on Bournemouth at 1.96 to repeat what they did earlier on in the season and beat Burnley narrowly.
Yeah, the only thing I can give you for Bournemouth is they've scored in the last 7 away games. Is that 7 or is it more than that? It might be 9. Last 9 away games. One of them was a 6-1 at Man City, but they've got goals in them and a bit of guile about them. Should have more than enough to get past Burnley, surely.
Well, you'd think so. I mean, Burnley, you just wonder when they're going to change the style, be a bit more pragmatic and make it difficult for teams.
First game of next season.
I mean, you look, probably first game of next season when they win the Championship again with the quality they've got. I mean, lost 3-0 at home at Palace, lost 5-0 at home to Arsenal, lost 3-1 at Liverpool. I mean, they've lost 19 games this season. The joint most is Sheffield United. That tells you they're 11 points adrift. I mean, they're done. They've only won 3 games this season. Burnley and Sheffield United start preparing for next season now. I mean, Bournemouth, they're okay. I mean, they started off really poorly. They've picked up better. They've got enough points to stay in the league. 14th, they're 8 points clear of the bottom, which in all honesty will be enough because Burnley, Sheffield United are done. The next 3 are between Luton, Everton and Forest, depending on points deductions. They've conceded 47 goals this season, Bournemouth, but they do play a nice brand of football. And with Burnley playing the way that they play, I think Bournemouth will high press Burnley. I think Burnley will make mistakes in their own defending third, and that's where Bournemouth will capitalise on it.
Yeah, I think that's the way it goes. Bournemouth they've got this super high press, which leaves them open at the back sometimes, but Burnley, you'd say, Neil, don't have it in them to go and make the best of that.
No, not at all. And I think you made a good point there about Bournemouth. They do have that goal threat. They look like they probably will score, whereas Burnley, you're thinking, will they score? And if they do, can't see it being more than 1. So, I mean, Burnley, they're going to be still fighting for their lives. The fans will get behind them and have a little bit of hope. A victory for Bournemouth may well be enough to keep them in the league. That could be enough points for them. So Bournemouth away. What about Solanke? He's been on good form away. 6 in his last 6 away games. Solanke to get a goal and a Bournemouth victory is what I'm on.
31 points really could be enough to stay in the league this season. 28 might not be too bad.
Well, you look at what they've got. What have they got? 11 points. Burnley got 11. Sheffield United the same. Yeah, 11. Both 11 adrift. Sorry,
11 adrift. Yeah,
11
13
adrift,
points.
13 points. I mean, what realistically are they going to get? They're done. 19 games lost, and then you look at the likes of Luton, who have really hit the buffers now, and then potentially Everton getting 6 taken off them, Forest getting 6 taken off them. It could be low. Could be very, very low.
We shall see. But I don't know if we'll see Burnley against Bournemouth. You might, if you're in the clubhouse and watching this. And good luck to you if you are. That's Burnley Bournemouth. The early kickoff, slightly earlier. It's 1 o'clock. Burnley Bournemouth. So you can get two episodes of Columbo into that if you want to. It's slightly earlier Super Sunday this weekend, and we're going to look at the Manchester derby. City against United. City 1.29, United are 10 going to the Etihad.
Wow.
The draw is 5.8.
10. Wow.
10. I mean, would you give them a 9-1 shot? I mean, it's incredible because it's a derby. Form goes out the window.
Derby.
And City, I know you saw City against Luton in midweek, Paul, but
before
City
that,
haven't looked. They haven't looked like Manchester City.
Well, they've
under 2.5 goals in the last 4 games.
Won 1-0 against Bournemouth. Won 1-0 against Brentford. We all talked about these City engines starting and going on a run. Yeah, they're on that run, but they haven't played particularly well until the Luton game. I mean, they were phenomenal in the Luton game, but they played the same way against Copenhagen. Watched them in Copenhagen. They dominated the game. They won that 3-1. Could have won by a lot more. I think that 3-1 helps him out a little bit going forward with the fixtures. He can change his squad a little bit. But the worrying thing for the rest of the Premier League is, barring Jack Grealish, it looks like Pep Guardiola's got a fully fit squad to choose from. And the way he rotated the squad and the way that the mood Haaland was in on Tuesday night, he was unplayable. I mean, Haaland scored more goals on Tuesday night, or the same goals on Tuesday night, that Rashford's got all season. I mean, that puts it into perspective for you.
It does a bit, doesn't it? I mean, there is a comparison there in that Marcus Rashford hasn't really fired at all this season, has he? I mean, and considering the forward line that they've got, obviously United are missing Højlund in this one, and that got United kind of on their own personal role before the last few weeks. There's still something in that United side, but I watched a bit of them against Forest in midweek as well. They just don't look bothered at times, do they? We've mentioned their captain a couple of times. Are they a bit of a mirror of Bruno Fernandes, Neil?
Yeah, maybe. What you would say is they've got a job on their hands to get in the top 5 this season. They had a little bit of a run, didn't they? And you're thinking, I've been beating Villa. Can they maybe sneak in? Got away with it against Forest in the FA Cup. A late winning goal from Casemiro. Been tipping him for a few weeks. There you go. Came in eventually. But yeah, don't give them much of a chance in this one at all. I mean, looking at the firepower that they have compared to City, you've got Anthony, Rashford, and Garnacho. I mean, how many goals is there between them this season? Just not enough. Not enough. You mentioned about the captain, Bruno Fernandes. I'm surprised he hasn't got himself suspended for this one. Didn't fancy it at Anfield, but he's obviously going to probably play in this one. It's a tough game for United. It really is a tough game for them. City, it was a big result. City have had many big results. I think we have to say that. They've been getting the job done. 24 games unbeaten at home. I think 3 out of the last 5 have been clean sheets at home. So getting back to the clean sheets, narrow victories. The worry for United is the freshness City will have. Ederson didn't play, Foden didn't play, Rodri and Diaz. I mean, they all come straight back in, and United with their squad isn't anywhere near as strong as that. So I'm trying to find some value for the bet. City to 0. I think that one is quite maybe an obvious one. City to 0 is about as good as I can get it for you.
Start of a big couple of weeks for City, or they're all big, aren't they? But they've got United, Copenhagen in midweek, which they've kind of made pointless. They should get through that. It's a home game that they're a few goals up.
They will get through that.
Liverpool next Sunday, Newcastle in the Cup. Again, nice home draw against Newcastle.
How do you feel for? I feel for Newcastle. I really do. All these years without a trophy. I mean, I was driving back from Luton game, listening to TalkSport the other night, and listening to the Newcastle fans ringing in about how poor they were against Blackburn, and how the FA Cup's the only hope this season. And one of them just rang in and he went, "You watch, we'll draw Man City away in the next round." And look what's happened to them.
This is it. It's a big couple of weeks. It's actually, we spoke last week about March for City, and it's got a bit easier, hasn't it? Because obviously the Brighton game's been put off because they've got to play Newcastle. They've still got Liverpool to play away next week, so that everything points to Anfield next Sunday. Neil.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the big one, and I think a big factor is momentum, isn't it? Liverpool playing Forest, don't want to drop points there. City at home to United, don't want to drop points, so the difference will be 1 point, and it really does become a huge game. It'll be a big game anyway, but momentum will be important, and these teams do not want to be dropping points going into that game. Obviously, Arsenal will be thinking maybe this is one of those games where City might drop points, but the way that they just dismantled Luton during the week, you're thinking, making very little case for United. But March is a tough month for City, and this is going to be the start of
that. We wait and see what happens between City and United. What does happen, Paul Robinson? Simple win?
Yeah, nothing other than a City win. I think the problem that Pep's got is choosing who plays. I mean, Nunes played the other night, and I thought he was outstanding. Him and Kovacic played in midfield in the holding role. Obviously, Rodri comes back in against United, but it's who plays alongside him. And like I said, Nunes was brilliant. The attacking impetus that he had, the forward play that he had, the runs off the ball. It's your only value again is City. How many and who? They just need to continue the way that they played. They have been not quite in top form, but the way they played against Luton was City at their very, very best. And if that City turns up, it's a case of who, how many, when, and are United able to keep it respectable?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, United have been...
Tell you what, there's one thing. Favourite.
Casemiro.
I'm
already there.
You already put it in.
I'm already there.
Casemiro yellow card because he will be chasing shadows and dangling his leg about.
Don't worry about that.
He will be dangling his leg left, right, and centre.
I was just looking for that. Let's see. Where's my card market?
A City win and a Casemiro yellow card.
Oh, where's my who will get booked? Oh, it will be in there. I know.
I think his price is shortening week in and week out, isn't it?
Definitely getting booked.
What was he last week? I think he was 8 out the last 9. I had him in notes last week. It was ridiculous.
It will be added to the player marks. I think they're just waiting to see if he gets a yellow card in between now and then. At some point when he's just driving to the supermarket, he might just stick a leg out.
Before the Fulham game, he had 8 in the last 9. And he didn't get booked in the Fulham game, so he's due one.
He is due one. He might not be playing next week, let's say that. City against United.
Haaland hasn't scored back-to-back games for 3 months.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but the odds on Haaland to score after scoring 5.
Back-to-back hat-tricks you could probably have.
Since November. Yeah, so 3 months he's gone. He hasn't got back-to-back goals in games.
Here's a random one for you. I bet you haven't even got it on your computer. An Edison assist.
Ooh.
Because of the way they play. And sometimes they do like to put the ball into Haaland, put him through one-on-one. There's an outside bet, the way that City play. An Edison assist. I bet that isn't on your computer.
No, the assist market will come into play probably on the day. I'm going to say it might be when the team is... I've seen the assist markets, but that's they do go along. And the United back line, which they don't really have, because there's no Martinez, no Maguire. Are we talking Johnny Evans in this?
There's a chance of Haaland rolling one of them centre-halves direct from Edison.
Which he has. He's done that against United before, hasn't he? One of his goals. So, lots to go at. City win, though. That's the main thing. Whether it be a steamrolling, they have scored 6. They don't stop against United. Sometimes they stop against some teams. A big week ahead for Manchester City, and they should get the job done to kick it off against Manchester United. Quick look at Monday night's game. If we've had some one-sided prices this weekend, Manchester United were 10 going to City. Sheffield United, this might be the longest home odds I've seen ever in the Premier League, possibly. Sheffield United against Arsenal, 17. The draw is 7, Arsenal 1.18. I think this is, considering Arsenal's form coming into this and Sheffield United's form coming into this, even I can comfortably suggest that this is a lot of goals to nil, Paul.
Yeah, I mean... looking at the stats that we do for Sheffield United every week, they've lost 19 this season, the same as Burnley. They've got the worst defence still, and they've still got the worst attack, but the numbers are just increasing. They've only scored 22. They've now conceded 66. They've had 98 shots on their goal at home in 13 games. 98. So they're going to break 100 that on Monday night for sure.
First couple of minutes.
The only thing surprising at the moment for Sheffield United is that shock 3-1 win at Luton, which nobody saw coming. Saw them at home against Brighton, completely outplayed them, passed them off the park. To be fair to them, they were the better side at Wolves. They went to Wolves 1-0, they lost 1-0, but they actually put in a performance, and at times they were the better side. But I mean, Arsenal are in scintillating form, aren't they? Apart from the Porto result, that's the only blip. 7 wins on the bounce. I mean, they're keeping clean sheets, they're winning games and scoring goals. As you rightfully open this section up, I just think it's how many to nil?
Over 3.5 goals in the game. Arsenal win to nil is 4.5. So you're not getting much out of it, but it will probably come in. The nil thing for us, 11 away goals conceded all season. That is remarkable.
Yeah, flying. Absolutely flying. And you can't even give Sheffield United hope to say that Arsenal playing Porto in the second leg and they might just rest a few players, they might declare at 3, but that's the following week. So Arsenal are going to go all out and absolutely hammer Sheffield United this weekend. The pressure will be back on Arsenal, knowing that City and Liverpool have played and both probably have won. We certainly expect to keep the title race alive. So, Arsenal to go there have absolutely no problems. I think they're fortunate in terms of injuries at the moment. Obviously injuries are going to play a big factor. Key players fit, raring to go, full of confidence as well. And so Sheffield United have lost the last 2 games 5-0. I'm going for a hat-trick. I reckon it's going to be at least 5 for Arsenal this weekend.
I'll just get a price for that. But, how important... We saw the way when defensively they got injuries last season. If they lose one of those 2 centre-backs in any way, Arsenal... Well, have they got the cover these days? Could they cope with it?
Yeah, I think they could cope with it. I think they have got the strength and depth, but I don't think they'll lose them this weekend because I don't think they're going to have anything to do. I think they'll be playing with a pipe and slippers on Monday night against Sheffield United. The lowest scoring team only scored 22 in the whole season, so I don't think they'll be overly tasked on Monday night at Bramall Lane.
Arsenal to win to nil. How many goals? Are you just saying over 4.5 goals, Neil?
Yeah, over 4. What about Martinelli? He's gone 7 away games without a goal. I think he could be enjoying himself with the pace in behind that Sheffield United defence and get a few opportunities. So Martinelli, Arsenal to nil, over 4.5. That'll get you close to 7, surely.
Martinelli, both teams to score.
Not both teams to score, no chance.
Oh, no, both teams to score. No, I've got that as no.
That.
And then how many goals? Over 4.5. That makes it 11. That's about right, isn't it? Still short.
You can be creative as well and put some Sheffield United cards in there as well. You look at Martinelli, Saka, the pace that they've got down the wings, and then you look at the wing backs that Sheffield United will have. Ahmedhodzic, Robinson, and Trusty will play as a back 3, and then you've got Bogle and Larouci as wing backs. D'Souza's always good for a yellow as well. Ahmedhodzic good for a yellow. There's yellow cards scattered all through that Sheffield United side. But there is an opportunity. You look on the, I think it's the Premier League app, and you look at the referees, and there's actually a grid, and you can see what referees are card happy and who's given what. So actually, if you do a little bit of due diligence, look at what referees referee and where. And so, if there's a referee that likes dishing cards out and it's in this game, then take your pick.
Oh, it's a referee I've never heard of. Samuel Barrett.
Well, get on the Premier League app, have a look, and it will tell you how many cards he's given out this season.
Well, I can tell you right now, he did Villa Forest last week, there was 3. He did Millwall, Ipswich in the Championship, 4. Tottenham Brighton, there were 5.
There you go.
City Burnley, there were 4. So he likes over 2.5 cards.
There you go. Fill your boots on the cards. This might get some value.
Get your stats up. Sheffield United against Arsenal. I think a lot of goals for Arsenal. Not so many for Sheffield United. That's Monday night. Enjoy that, unless you're a blade, on the Clubhouse with sportsbet.io. You never know, though. Time to have a look at the 3 o'clock kickoffs in the Premier League. Got Paul Robinson and Neil Mellor with me. We're going to go through these and do the score predictions as well, because there's a lot of them at 3 o'clock. And we will start with, as this afternoon gets underway, I'm going to start with Everton West Ham. Not doing alphabetical. Everton West Ham. Your old side, Neil, going to Goodison Park. 3.5 West Ham. Thought they were impressive last week. They've stopped the rot. Say David Moyes' job once again. It's what they do. The draw is 3.65. Everton 2.06. I'm confused a little bit by those prices. I quite fancy West Ham at 3.5, Neil.
Yeah, I think Everton surprises a few of us, not Paul Robinson, because he was on the draw at Brighton last weekend. Fair play to that one. That was a cracking result. They've had the good news about the points back as well. So, bit of a feel-good factor around Everton at the moment. First home game since those points have been given back. So, I think it'll be a good atmosphere there. Tough game for West Ham. Not been great away. Great result last weekend and performance against Brentford, having been under a little bit of pressure. I am all over the draw. Everton have drawn the last 3 at home. I think they're going to make it 4 in a row. I'm going for a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. A lot of draws in this, as Neil mentions there, for Everton. Is that going to do them in the end, or added to the extra points they might get in Arsenal in April?
I mean, listen, I've got draw written as well. I mean, Everton, they don't score a lot, they don't concede a lot. 8 clean sheets this season, 28 goals in 26 games. I mean, if you go to Goodison Park, I worked there about 3 weeks ago, and there was a stat 3 weeks ago. I don't know if it's still the same, but I think it was the ground in the Premier League that had seen the least goals this season, and I don't expect that to change much against West Ham. I've gone for 1-1 as well.
Those wooden seats are terrible on your backside as well. So 1-1 there. Not much to get you off them. Everton West Ham is the first of our games at 3 o'clock, and we think a draw. We think a 1-1. What a nice way to start the score predictions. To Fulham Brighton. Fulham 2.76. The draw is 3.6. Brighton 2.46. You've seen Brighton this week, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, they were very, very good at Wolves in the Cup. Very good. I mean, they lost 1-0, but I think they had nearly 80% possession. They just don't have any strikers fit. I mean, we played Ansu Fati as a striker, changed that at half-time, brought on Welbeck, who wasn't fully fit. Obviously, I think he would have started the game. Then he dropped Fati in behind. He brought Enciso on as an attacking midfielder as well. Adringa is fantastic with his assists, with his goals, but they just don't seem to have the potency that they need. I mean, they dominate games, they dominate possession. They're really, really good on the eye, but they've got players missing. I mean, Matoma's huge. Gilmore's still going to be suspended for them. They do dominate possession. They are a quality side, but they just don't make the most of the chances. And I think they're guilty at times, Brighton, of trying to score the perfect goal instead of taking that chance, whipping the ball in. Estepinian and Adringa down the left-hand side. Adringa dropped into the right-hand side in the second half. The threat that they've got, the quality that they possess, they just don't always have the key to the door. And with Ferguson not fit, he's another one who's been out injured, who's not scored for a long time anyway. They're just lacking goals. They really are.
If you're not playing Sheffield United, it's not a good look at the form, Neil. If you're looking at Brighton and Fulham, go and win in added time at Old Trafford.
Quite enjoyed that one. Yeah, really good. I think Fulham are decent at home. I think they're nowhere near trouble. I think they're going to be sort of mid-table. I think Brighton are so inconsistent, it's hard to predict. If they're at it, they go there and win. They just haven't been at it enough, certainly away from home. I don't think they've been able to replicate the performances at home. 2 points dropped against Everton. They played midweek in the Cup. Fulham didn't play midweek in the Cup. So Fulham will have that freshness. As Paul mentioned, there's a few injuries floating around the Brighton team, so you'd have to look at the team news for that one. But yeah, I just can't make a case for Brighton to go there and win. But I just think they're the sort of side that can get a point at Fulham, which might not be a bad point because Fulham have been decent at home. So again, I'm sitting on the fence with a draw for this one. If Ferguson plays, he's going to get a goal. He's got 16 games without a goal. Come on, Ferguson.
When this one comes in, and he will at some point if he's playing.
Hat-trick, that's right. I'm on a 1-0 draw. I'm on a 1-0 draw.
Another 1-0 draw. What's the score, Paul?
I've watched Brighton a lot this season, and they're so good in possession. There comes a time where they've got to convert the chances, and Fulham are inconsistent. I mean, they had a fantastic win against Man United, lost at home to Villa, and Villa play a similar way to Brighton. I'm tipping Brighton up 2-1.
2-1 Brighton, okay. Game 3 is Brentford-Chelsea. Brentford 3.15. The draw is 3.8. Chelsea 2.16. I talk about inconsistent. And Chelsea had a tough old game against Leeds in midweek.
Leeds reserves, by the way.
Leeds 17-year-olds.
Leeds reserves.
But nearly went to extra time in that one as well. They've had a difficult week, Chelsea. Will Brentford take advantage, Neil?
Probably not. No, I think Chelsea had a lot of criticism for the defeat against Liverpool. Avoided extra time against Leeds. Maybe not the most convincing of wins, but it's a win. And 3 goals as well, which is something we haven't seen too often from Chelsea. I think that will give them a little bit of a lift. Brentford just in a habit of losing games, which is really worrying for them. I think the fact that the teams below them are sort of really struggling helps Brentford. I think Brentford are good for a goal. I just think that's really appealing odds for Chelsea away. 2.16. I think they go there and get the victory, but Brentford to get a goal. So I've got it down as an away win, 2-1 for Chelsea.
2-1 Chelsea, 25 points Brentford. They are in that relegation battle, aren't they?
Well, they're 5 points clear of the bottom 3. They're in 16th, and this is the worst season that they've had, I think, in the Premier League. And they've three losses on the bounce, and the fact they're shipping goals, 4 at West Ham, 4 at home against Liverpool, is worrying for a Thomas Frank side. But I'm going on the basis that when Chelsea go round the corner, they always bang it in reverse and come back again. And I think the unpredictability and the inconsistency of Chelsea, I think, will strike again. The FA Cup final, the Carabao Cup final, the FA Cup game against Leeds, I think it'll have taken a toll on them this week. And I think Brentford might just get that result they need. This is the big one for Brentford. I'm going to tip the Bees at home, 2-1.
Oof, 2-1 Brentford, right. Moving on to Newcastle Wolves. We got your tip for that one, didn't we, Neil? We got a score. What was it 2-1 Chelsea?
Yeah, I went 2-1 Chelsea, yeah.
2-1 Chelsea. 2-1. Newcastle Wolves then. You've seen Wolves this week, and I was listening to some commentary this week saying that Wolves at home, I think it was the Sheffield United game last week, where they were like, why are we getting so annoyed with our side at home? The fans are a bit jittery because I don't think they're used to seeing their side goals up at home or so comfortable as they seem to be in possession at times. They're maybe not putting the chances away as they should, but the game they played at Tottenham was almost perfect.
Well, look at the last 3 results. They've won at Tottenham, won at home Sheffield United, and beaten Brighton in the FA Cup. But you can understand it because I watched them, like you say, last night against Brighton. They hardly touched the ball. I mean, they went 1-0 up in the first minute, and then I'm not sure they had a shot on target throughout the rest of the game. Possession-wise, Brighton had over 80% possession at times, and they were very sacrificial in possession, but defensively very strong. I mean, it's the old adage of, do you want to win football matches or do you want to see your team playing great football? From where Wolves are this season, I mean, they're 8th, they're 1 point from the European place. They've won 5 out of the last 7 all competition. The big miss for them is going to be Hwang. We know that Cunha's out for a long time, but Hwang last night looked like his hamstring went, and he came off halfway through the second half. Sarabia came on and Neto came on, but they didn't have that figurehead of a 9. And without Cunha and without Hwang, it's going to be a big miss. Hwang looked in some discomfort. He was down for a while. You could tell by his face. And it was one of them when nobody was around him. He got the ball in the centre circle, turned, went to play the ball out to the left side of his left foot, and immediately held his hamstring and went to the ground. Laid down for a while, had to be helped off, and it didn't look a good one. So for Wolves, with Hwang and Cunha missing, they're a different outfit. But they're a good outfit. I mean, they've got fantastic results this year. We both tipped them up to be relegation fodder this year. Gary O'Neill's done an incredible job with them. They are 1 point from a European place, but they are going to struggle without the strikers.
And a point above Newcastle, who similarly have injury worries or just kind of just lack of steam, really. Taken to extra time and penalties against Blackburn. Very much kind of their season rested on that penalty shootout, Neil.
Yeah, I think that was a big boost for them. Okay, it wasn't the most convincing performance, wasted some really good chances. But I think they'll take a huge boost knowing that the season's still alive, the momentum's still there in terms of 7th is the battle, and that's the reality for Newcastle this season, which I think still will be European football, so they can still get Europe next season. So for them, it's about fighting for 7th, and Wolves are now a rival in terms of that because they are above them in the league. They've done extremely well. Wolves have got a few injuries. Maybe a good time to play Wolves. Put a lot into their FA Cup performance. Good win for them against Brighton during the week. So, I mean, Newcastle 1.92 at home. That you've got to say that's good odds. They haven't won at 4 at home. And okay, they've had a little bit of a stutter, but I think they get back to winning ways at home. Isak played. He was up top the other night. He makes a difference. I think he scores in this game. He's got 2 in his last 2 at home. Really like him. So Newcastle and Isak, what have I written down? I've got a 2-1 home win for Newcastle. Close, because Wolves will make it close. But I don't think they go there and beat Newcastle like they did against Spurs. Newcastle to win, 2-1.
Scores?
I concur, but I've got 2-0 simply due to the fact of no Hwang. Neto will have to play up there on his own, and I'm not so sure he's an out-and-out number 9 unless he changes it and plays. He can't play Sarabia up there. I don't know what he'll do with his team, whether he'll play with a false 9, simply due to the fact there's no Cunha and no Hwang. Can't give Wolves a goal. 2-0 Newcastle.
2-0. Let's go for Forest Liverpool. Neil, I've got a quiz question on this one.
Oh, hello.
When did Liverpool last win at Forest in the league?
When were they in the same league? I mean, Forest have only just come back up, haven't they?
90s, early 90s, 93, 4, 5, something like that. Or was it that?
Further back than that. They were very much, apart from United, they were the great Liverpool 80s side's bogey team.
Are you saying we've never won in the Premier League?
No, it was the first Premier League game on TV, wasn't it? Didn't win that one.
And who put the goal? Who scored the goal?
Was it Ted?
Ted against?
David James.
Yeah, that was David
correct,
James, yes.
JMO.
1984 is when you have to go back to when Liverpool last won at Nottingham Forest. Goal scorers that day?
1984. I was
come on.
4.5.
You must have known.
Mels, was you even born?
Yes, I was 2. Jan Molby must have got a goal. Jan Molby, Ronnie Whelan, someone like that.
Ronnie Whelan scored. And who always scored for Liverpool in those days?
John Aldridge, Ian Rush.
Ian Rush and Ronnie Whelan. As Ian Rush came back into the side under Big Joe Fagan. And that win kept Liverpool out of the bottom 3. Such was their start to the season. That was in October, late October. Won the league. Did they win the league? No, Everton won the league that season, 84-85. That's how far we go back. We go back to Everton winning stuff. So there you go. Forest against Liverpool. Forest are 6.
Was that your whole agenda for that point? Was it to come round to that? To finish with that?
Yeah. Liverpool 1.54. Mels, I think you've got some inside injury information, but do we finally get the Liverpool finally get? Say we. It's all about the football. This Nunes, Salah, Szoboszlai. What's the midfield going to look like? And do they have to have school in the morning?
Well, let's just say the young lads have done great. Obviously, the League Cup final was one of them. The performance against Southampton, aside going well in the Championship as well, to play 10 academy players was absolutely superb. I think we'll have a couple of players back for this one. I think Nunes and Salah are very close. I think Szoboszlai as well. So whether they start or will be involved, I expect to see all 3. I think the worry for Liverpool will be Gravenberch got injured in the cup final. Endo looked like he picked up a knock. I'd be amazed if we saw either of those 2 players. In fact, I don't think we will see either of those 2 players. So they've been added to the injury list. But I think the boost of having Nunes and Salah back in the squad, the firepower, will be too much for Forest. Excuse me. Forest have just not been good enough at home. They've lost 6 of the last 8 games, and I think they lose this one as well. I think it'll be tough for Liverpool, but I think they will get the 3 points.
Yeah, they did win there in the FA Cup. Jota scored a couple of seasons back. I think Forest. I think we're still in the Championship. Yes. What do you think? I mean, Forest at home usually a thing, but last 5 games they've beaten United at home, they've beaten West Ham at home, they've lost to Arsenal, Newcastle, and Bournemouth at home.
Give a decent account of themselves against United in the FA Cup. Lost last minute, didn't they? Yeah. But I mean, Liverpool are different to United. The firepower that Liverpool have got. They've conceded too many goals, and they are precariously loitering above that bottom 3 with the potential at the points. I mean, I do worry for Forest. I think Everton are a better side than Forest. I think Everton have got the capability of pulling themselves away simply because of the experience they've got in the side and the way they play, and they don't concede that many goals. And I worry for Forest and Luton, especially if Forest obviously get the points deducted. Nottingham Forest cannot defend set plays. That's one thing that's been their Achilles heel all season. They've conceded loads of goals from set plays. 1 win in their last 7, lost 6 of the last 8. It's not a good reading for Forest, especially with a buoyant Liverpool coming to the City Ground. And I'm going to that one, actually. Looking forward to it.
That's a good old-fashioned ground still, isn't it? City
Park at the Cricket Club and walk.
Yes.
Yeah, good old-fashioned ground.
Yeah, decent pie. That's all I'll say in the press room. Decent.
Oh, they've upped the game now. They've got a new press room.
Have they?
Now they're back in the Premier League. The press room's been all knocked through. There's a great big press conference area for the managers. New. It's a banqueting suite now compared to what it used to be.
It used to be a porter cabin outside, and you'd have someone outside loitering who's probably won a European Cup.
Oh, well, maybe they sent you to the wrong place then.
Certain tickets get you in certain places. Forest Liverpool. So what's your score?
2-0 Liverpool.
2-0 Liverpool. Neil?
Probably going to give Forest a goal. I think they'll get a goal, but Liverpool to win 3-1. Nunes back in the team. Nunes to score 3-1 Liverpool.
He seemed sprightly at Wembley when he was hurtling down the steps, knocking Curtis Jones out of the way, which he shouldn't. He nearly knocked him head over heels. Forest Liverpool then. Finally, Crystal Palace go to Spurs. I've got a quiz question about this one as well. Don't know if you've got any, Neil, but it's a long time since Crystal Palace have done anything at Spurs other than get beat. Neil, Robert, what are you thinking?
Same. I mean, the new manager that's come in, I think he's obviously had an immediate effect on the side, changed the style, changed the way that they play. He won the Europa League, came runner-up in the cup and these cup competition. But I think the appointment was needed, a change was needed. I think if Roy Hodgson's Palace were going to Tottenham, it would have been a foregone conclusion. I think this Palace go with a little bit more structure, coming off the back of a decent home win against Burnley. Okay, it was Burnley, but there's still a game they had to win. I think perception from the fans may have changed a little bit with Roy moving on. I do still have Tottenham for a win, a comfortable win because of the way that they play. But I think Palace will give a better account of themselves. But then you look at Tottenham. I mean, they lost at home to Wolves, won at home to Brighton, then draw away at Everton. The inconsistency is just creeping in a little bit. And if they do want to finish in that top 4 or 5, this is the point of the season where now they've got to kick on. They had no game last weekend, so they are going to be rested. They are going to be fresh. So, yeah, Tottenham to win, but a better showing from Palace than what they potentially would have had a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, Palace have scored 1 goal at Tottenham since 2004. That's a long time. I mean, to me, 2004 is last week, but actually it's 20 years. Who scored the goal, Neil?
Was it against me by any chance? That's the year I signed for Spurs.
I know it's much later than I've got to look at it now. Who scored the goal? Crystal Palace.
I've got a quiz question myself for this one.
Here we go. Go on.
Okay,
Who scored the goal for Palace? 2004.
No. At 2004 one, that will have been against you. Go on.
Did they score in 2004? That was the last time they scored.
There's 1 goal in between, which was Christian Benteke. But who scored the goal in 2004?
I'd probably say Andy Johnson, someone like that.
Bang on, Andy Johnson. There you go. Well, I'm just going to look. I'll look that up while he asks you your quiz question.
Here we go. Here's a proper quiz question.
He's having a go.
Palace haven't beaten Spurs in the league since '97. Who got the winning goal for Palace?
Attilio Lombardo.
Great guess, but wrong. He was English, this lad. I'm sure.
Not Neil Maddison. He wasn't English, was he?
Oh, that's a better guess than Robbo's.
Thank you.
Who?
Guess.
Neil Maddison. That's very Crystal Palace, late 90s, surely. Who we think?
Do you want to give you a clue?
It's too late for John Solarco, isn't it?
He might have had a McDonald's pre-match.
Oh, that could be a few players I know.
A McDonald's
pre-match.
Maybe a Burger King as well. I'm being a bit harsh on him.
Was he a bit Don Revy, was he?
I was going to say, was it Scott Parker? He was in a McDonald's advert.
No, was he a bit? It must be. I think he's alluding to the fact he was a bit Don Revy.
Oh dear. Where does that go? Oh. Go on then.
Palace
Neil
striker.
Shippen.
Neil
Shippen.
Oh, that's probably what I was thinking of when I said Neil Maddison. Neil Maddison.
There you go.
So you were giving yourself all the credit for Neil Maddison. It wasn't even him you were thinking of.
No, I was thinking Neil Shippen. You see? Eventually, the brain cells come round. Oh, that's so disappointing.
What? So neither of them collide.
He was a unit, wasn't he, Neil Shipley?
Has they been a bit harsh with the pre-match shout or not?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, a bit harsh on Shipley. Neil Maddison played for Middlesbrough, didn't he? And yeah. Oh dear. Well. Spurs against Palace. What's the score?
3 Tottenham, 1 Crystal Palace.
Neil, finishing off.
Yeah. Bank at home. Son to get back to scoring goals. Hasn't scored since his return from the Asia Cup. So Son to score, Spurs to win, put the pressure back on Villa. I'm going 3-0 Spurs.
Okay, quick run through the TV games. 5:30, Luton, Aston Villa. Neil.
Villa away. Luton just to still be struggling from that heavy defeat to City. I'm going for a 3-1 away win for Villa.
3-1 Villa.
I've got the same. 3-0 I'll go, though. I think that Luton's bubble has burst and it's how they recover. 3-0 Villa.
To Sunday afternoon's football match. Burnley against Bournemouth, Paul.
Classic. Burnley 0, Bournemouth 2.
It could be a 0-0 this, couldn't it?
I thought he was going to say it.
I was thinking, it's probably about right. Quite.
I'm on Bournemouth. Yeah, Bournemouth to win this one, but Burnley to get a goal. 2-1 away win.
Okay, to the Manchester derby, Neil.
I've gone City to 0, and I've declared at 4-0.
Declaring at 4, do they go to 5? That's usually what happens. You had 1. I'd take away 1.
See what I've written down there, look.
Is that a 0 or 1?
Exactly, I can't decide. So he's gone 4-0, so I'll go 4-1.
4-1, a United goal. There you go, okay. And then we've got Sheffield United, Arsenal. Again, this might be how
10-0.
many? 10. Someone's got to hit 10. Celtic was 6-0 up at half-time the other night and conceded 1. Dundee had a man sent off.
Was that 7 they scored? There's 7 different scorers as well.
7 different scorers. But 6-0 up at half-time. You've got to get to 10 if you get to 6 after 45. I mean, come on, everyone. No one's done 10 in the Premier League. You're not saying 10, are you?
No, I'll go half of it. I'll go 5. 5-0.
5-0 again. Neil, you said 5-0 in your preview. You did.
I did.
You did. So done you there, isn't he?
I'm going to stick with 5-0. I just think Sheffield United will get hurt by that Arsenal attack. They are flying at the moment. 5-0.
Right, I'm changing if he's going 5. I'm going 6.
Because it could be the decider.
We'll have an auction. 6. Are you
going
7?
No,
You're going 7.
They are
They've been done 8
They
already.
have been done 8.
I'm going 6.
Someone's going to get 10. If 5 plus 5, I'm going to say 10. Why not? They are the score predictions.
What about if it's under 5, he gets it. If it's over 5, I get it.
He's bringing in extra rules. I'm not sure about that. Are you going to take? It's up to you. You want to take that? So you're going to go 5-0.
3-0, yeah, all day. Anything under 5.
You might have sold yourself down the river there. I'm not sure. What are we doing? Are we saying that? It's rules. It's important. This. You're back. It's 14-10.
We can't change rules halfway through the season. The
rules.
Rules are bad enough as they are.
Rules are. Hold on. It's 14-10. Those Jimmy White gifts I'm putting on the group. Catching you up, Neil. Catching you up. The score predictions for this weekend. I'm going to shut him up now. Sheffield United Arsenal is the final game. They are your score predictions. Good luck with your selections.